pick up the cards and go. Can I phone a friend? Hi, I'm Adam Scott, 2013 Masters champion, and I'm going to answer some questions about Augusta National. How do they know a champion's jacket size before they win? That's from AJ on Instagram. They probably have like the best tailor in the world sizing everyone up, coming down the last or something. I don't know. The serious answer is they probably ask quickly and make a best guess. And if they get it wrong, they'll fix it up real quick. They don't make many errors there. This is from Vardens on YouTube. Which green at Augusta invokes the most fear in players? Every player probably has a different one. I think the first green is the hardest green on the course. I think especially because you're so nervous at the start of the round. It is not like a first hole to ease you in. It's one of the toughest greens out there for sure. Pat on YouTube asks, was there a shot during the final round in 2013 that was a make or break moment outside of the final hole? I think my shot into 15 green was that moment for me. I was standing at the top of the hill and I clearly remember seeing Jason Day birdie the 15th to go in front, and I had a 4-iron in from the right side, and it was that shot. I was either going to stay in the tournament or I was going to bow out probably. That was a big shot. That was my make or break moment. Next, Peter on YouTube wants to know, who do you sit with at the Champions Dinner and who had the best meal? I sit next to Trevor Immelman every year. Hideki is nearby. Marco Mura is quite nearby. I'm down that kind of far left side of the table from the head. I'm down the far end, and those guys are always nearby. We don't have assigned seating, but we always gravitate to similar places. And the best meal, I think the Texans always serve a good barbecue. I like it when the Texans win. What's the craziest story you've heard at the Champions Dinner? From Nicholas on YouTube. Gary Player's always got some very good stories. I like hearing the old ones that Gary tells about Ben Hogan at the Champions Dinner, that he didn't like signing the autographs during the dinner. And he kind of put a stop to that when he was asked to sign a book or something during the dinner. And he said, this ain't an autograph signing club, this is the Masters Club. Shapen on YouTube asks, what's something about Augusta that only players, not fans or broadcasters, ever really notice? That's a tricky one. I guess if you're watching on TV, you don't really understand the undulation from maybe the 10th tee, down to the bottom of that fairway in the green, and then all the way down to the 12th green, kind of the low point on the course and the high point on the course. The patrons there get to experience that, but the fans at home or broadcasters probably don't see how undulating and how much movement there is around the golf course. This question is from GBBS on YouTube. Augusta's back nine presents some of the best risk-reward opportunities in golf. Do you go into a round with a plan for which pins you'll attack, or does each decision come down to how you're feeling in the moment? I think you've got to have a little bit of a game plan, and because we go back there every year and because everyone has watched the Masters so many times and seen all the great shots, we know the pin locations that are attackable. Certainly, thinking about it, 16, the pins down the bottom left, that feeder pin that you see a lot of hole-in-ones and birdies, and they're the ones that you really want to take advantage of. 15 is just such a great risk-reward hole because it requires such precision into the green to all those pins really. Even to the back right pin where there's a lot of green, you still got to pitch it in the right spot or you go long, and it's not an easy up and down from over the back of that green. You can have the best game plan in the world, but it's hard to execute the shots on the back nine at the Masters. It all comes down to hitting great shots. Is the old adage of needing to be able to hit a draw for the right-hander to play well at Augusta overblown? From Eve on YouTube. I would say these days for sure it is. It's been lengthened out so much. I think the holes that really require a draw have come down to the 10th, probably. 13 has been pulled back so far, and it's more of a risk to try and draw it around the creek and the trees. So 14, it's helpful if there's a little draw shape, but again, you don't really want to miss it left. I feel like the draw is not as needed as maybe it once was. I think back to when I first played, and I can remember hooking it around the 13th, but you wouldn't think of doing that today. Next question. How does the slope of the fairways affect where you are aiming into the greens? That's from Grant on YouTube. Yeah, there's a lot of slope on the fairways at Augusta. I think the one that always gets me is the second. It's just such a downhill lie. If you hit a nice shot that gets past the bunker and starts going down the hill, it's just so severe. I don't know of any other shot in the year where I play off that severe a slope in the fairway. And I think I'm about 1 from 10, the last 10 shots hitting it on the green with like a 4 or a 5 iron from there. It always catches me out, and now I have this thing in the practice rounds. I like throw 3 balls down there each day and make sure I hit a few of those shots to try and make the adjustment needed. But the other tricky one, and I got this tip early in my career, was on 13 on the big right to left slope as you hit that shot into 13 green. It kind of fools you into aiming way right and hooking it in, but with that creek on the right, inevitably you see a lot of balls not draw back and end up in the creek. So I've made a conscious effort to aim in the middle of the green, even though it feels like I'm gonna hook it, but I'm yet to overhook one off there. So that's my little tip for myself into 13. Lauren on YouTube wants to know, how much money have you spent at the pro shop? That's always, that's a lot over the years now. There's always something. Everything looks so good with the Masters logo on it. You could pretty much take anything out of the pro shop. One year they released like a leather ottoman with the big Masters logo embossed on it, and you know, I had to have it. So that was probably $1,000 or something. So the spend is up there. I'm a sucker for hats, actually. Like every year I buy lots of different hats. I wear like 1 or 2 and they become like Christmas gifts for my mates. Do you own a Masters Gnome? From Daria on Instagram. I did. I got the Masters Gnome, the November Masters. That was probably the Masters that I bought the most merch, because I thought it'll be the only ever November Masters most likely. So that'll be rare stuff. I don't know why that made me inspired to do it, but I have a Gnome from that year, and I know I have a few other items from that year as well. Debbie on X. What's the one shot at Augusta that TV never does justice? The one you only truly understand after playing it in competition. The pitch shot into 15, I think, seems to be getting harder and harder. I don't know why it's harder now at this point, but you see a lot of guys struggle with that. It's very hard to lay it up to a good spot there, because it's just such a demanding shot off a slight downslope to a very shallow green over water. That shot needs to be executed perfectly to get a good result. Like most shots there, you know, it's a real second shot golf course. If you hit good ones, you get rewards. But that one to me stands out as, for a 90 yard or 80 yard pitch, they don't come much harder in the game than that one. How many times have you played Augusta outside of Masters Week? Any favorite memories? From Brad on YouTube. I've played a lot of rounds leading into the Masters, going up for preparation rounds. A couple that stand out, probably going into my first Masters. I remember being up there with Charles Howell and Justin Rose playing a practice round when we were just the young guys on tour. And more recently, I played in May after the Masters, which I'd never done before, and that was really great. And I played with one of my best mates from Australia and a member who I've got to know over the years. And probably the strongest memories are playing with my dad on the Sunday before the Masters, when I can take a guest and play. That's a special perk of being a Masters champion. You can have an unaccompanied guest on the Sunday prior, so that's always a fun day. And the last one from James on Instagram. At home, did you ever just put the green jacket on and have a cup of coffee? Almost every day. That's it for the questions. I hope that gave you a little insight into understanding Augusta National a little better.